Oh my gosh. I have no idea what's going on right now. All right, let me see if I can get rid of my background. Maybe I don't know why OBS is not giving me a picture. It's showing everything working wonderfully. But it obviously is not. All right, so let's see if I can switch to a webcam. No. I don't know what to say about this, guys. All right. Well, I guess there's just not going to be any picture of the stream. I don't know what the hell's going on. So thank you guys for joining me. Sorry about the delay getting this moving a little bit. I can still mess around with it in the background and see if I can get, but you guys really don't need to just stare at my head, do you? I don't know what's happening. Anyways, so I was thinking a lot about it's kind of, the thing that people call gatekeeping gatekeeping these days. But it's something worse than that for me. Psychedelic medicine and occult practices and spirituality has always been about hey, I have an idea. It didn't work. Has always been about individuality, finding your own path, to cut your own path through the jungle, as Aleister Crowley put it. He said, I hate and despise followers. Every man or woman must cut his own path through the jungle. And so, this is something that I see a lot of pressure on people to conform to expectations and ideas and trends. Once spirituality became trendy, there suddenly is a lot of pressure on people to conform to stereotypes of shamanism and a lot of the dietas that people talk about. They boast, they get a lot of ego about it, and they boast about how their maestro is so traditional and whatever. And it turns out that they're talking about eating chicken and white rice, which is not, these are two things that have been in South America for 200 years. So, and the way that I was taught, one night the teacher came and sat beside me and he said, "Do not wash the hands of your master." And he went on to kind of give me this sort of speech about how it used to be that shamanism was a very highly individualistic path, that the shaman learned their own ikaros, they learned their own songs, they did not imitate the songs of other shaman. There may have been elements that were retained from shaman to shaman. But every shaman needs to retain or to attain their own songs. This is part of the process. For me, was to spend a lot of time drinking alone in order to learn to kind of receive these messages from the universal mind, or however it is that it actually happens. It's distracting me a little bit that we don't have any picture, but. So, and I want to be clear that I'm not really criticizing people that have this idea that you should learn the Icaros exactly as they are, formatted now. Every little nuance, it has to be repeated exactly. I have never seen an indigenous person work in this way, but I do see a lot of white people, insisting that, and even correcting each other, like this is not exactly, Meanwhile, I can't remember the title at the moment for the so people have like a hierarchical sort of system or a graded system, similar to Freemasonry or any one of the mystery schools, I guess. And she's at the highest possible level of attainment. And she says the Icaros are different every single time you sing them, because they have to be adapted to the energy of the moment and the needs of the individual and all this sort of stuff, So this repetition of Icaros exactly as if you have recorded it, from what I can see, this is not something that really traditionally would ever happen. So, it is important to learn the techniques and to understand where certain influences are coming from. As a person that does not feel obligated to any particular lineage, with the caveat that when it comes to ayahuasca, it's generally done in the Shuar way. Like it all follows the lineage of, Miguel Chiriap and the people that I learned from. And their ancestors. So I'm not saying that we abandon that, but I was told not to learn the songs exactly, to get a general idea of how these things work and why they work and how to interface with the energy in the room with sound and, the techniques, but not imitation. I hope that makes sense. To you guys. And I understand that primates have a genetic predisposition to imitate other monkeys. This is just what we do. But I also think that moving towards a higher place of resonance, a greater type of consciousness, should increase individuality. The acting from a place of instinct and the animal soul, this level of our being is something that we're evolving past or learning to hopefully to integrate into our being in ways where it does not predominate, So this herd conformity that I see happening in the plant medicine world actually bothers me more than seeing it in the mainstream. This is where it's not supposed to be happening. This is where people are supposed to be finding their own voice, their own path, their own ways, their own reasons. And when I go to Pisac, which is a place nearby that is heavily, 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 heavily influenced by the pop culture spirituality kind of movement, I guess. I don't even know what to call it. Atrocious, really. It's unbearably corny and cheesy and just ridiculous, and people are monetizing everything. I saw a poster the other day for a guy that would teach your dog to be spiritual, for $200 or something a day. It's just getting to be just absolutely embarrassing. And you go into the coffee shop or something and you just hear people boasting about, how many retreats they've done and what they're, and also trying to impress each other by conforming what they're saying exactly to whatever pop culture stereotype they think is in effect in order to virtue signal the hardest and the loudest out of the whole group. And it's really disappointing, because my faith almost in this medicine has been shaken by seeing not only how much ego people are able to retain throughout years and years and years of exposure to these compounds, the ability for people to completely miss the point, apparently. And, really, I feel like taking something like this, that is the best evidence I think we have of another world, really, ayahuasca and DMT. I think that's a fair, certainly in the scientific sense, where it's repeatable. You give people this stuff, and they're like, "Huh, at least maybe these entities are real." There are very few hard-nosed scientists that I'm even aware of that have gone into to put these goggles on and gone into that world and not been forced to acknowledge, at least this may be real. And that's a wild thing. So to take something that is sacred like that and turn it into a trend and then start using it to homogenize people instead of to liberate them, it was a shock and a bit of a bit and a massive disappointment for me to watch this, because of course, in 2000, when we started to notice that there was this psychedelic revolution gaining steam, we really gave us a lot of hope. We thought that we would emerge victorious. There was so much common ground for, Republicans and Democrats to stand on together. All of a sudden, it seemed like nobody really hated gay people anymore. Republicans didn't really want to be racist as much. They were tolerant, if not even smoking pot and taking psychedelics themselves, and everyone seemed to see through the illusion of, the political game and everything in the United States. It really seemed like the movement that had begun in the 1960s had recoagulated, and with more coherence and experience and, the potential to really do something finally. And then, as you guys know, I'm sure it got hijacked and derailed. And part of that is this sort of movement to sort of homogenize everyone. There's just so much ego and vapidity, I think, in the modern individual coming from this crisis of purpose based society, that it's just not really, the trajectory isn't what it could be, in my opinion. And so, most of you guys out there probably already feel this way. But it's something that, we really have to find a way to encourage people not to be such monkeys. That's Let me check in with the chat. If you guys have any questions or anything, I don't have a ton of time today. Obviously, my equipment's not quite working properly. Let's see. Ethos Taros, a local church I have, is selling baptism and blessings for people's dogs. Selling them, of course. Let's see. What else we got? Hierarchical structure is a skeleton. You still need muscle and blood. That's fine. Hello, Deauville. Thank you for subbing. Yeah, by the way, all of you guys, please like, share, subscribe. Consider becoming a patron. I've been a little bit slow with the content lately, and maybe even admittedly a little bit discombobulated when I do it, because we're in the middle of this retreat and there's just a lot on my mind. I think it's going really well so far. We're having ayahuasca tonight in a few hours. I wanted to just pop on and say hello to everyone and encourage you to embrace your divine sovereignty and your originality and your uniqueness, and don't become another monkey following the herd. One of the reasons this is a good stream, to be short, is because there's not really a ton to say about that, and I would even almost go to the extent of being rude. Like, if you see people playing these weird ego primate monkey games, interject and embarrass them. the best that you can. And it's probably going to come back on you. He who speaks the truth has few friends. And people don't like it. I've noticed that when people are going on about their maestro having the same dieta for 5,000 years in his lineage, first of all, nobody, and this is a real conversation I heard, nobody knows their lineage for 5,000 years, not a single person anywhere in the universe, probably. But chicken and white rice. I asked, so what is this diet that is so traditional for 5,000 years? Chicken and white rice, nothing but chicken and white rice. No chicken or white rice in South America 5,000 years ago, not even 250 years ago. So, and then the interesting thing about this is that this misinformation has become like a ubiquitous belief. Many people will tell you that the traditional ayahuasca diet, chicken and white rice, it's not. The traditional dieta was not even, you didn't even avoid meat in most circumstances. If you're becoming a shaman and you were Shuar or certain other groups, you would avoid meat for as long as 2 years. So these 1 week dietas don't really, that's not, you're not developing any superpowers by doing something for a week, first of all. But fish and plantains, that's what you ate to prepare for ayahuasca and most of the other plant dietas in most traditional settings. Another thing that I wanted to add, I'm glad I just remembered this, is that, the pressure to conform to these fake conceptions of what ayahuasca is, what it's supposed to do, who it's supposed to make you become, all of these things, these phony dietas and stuff, they are actually corrupting the actual traditional practices. This is one of the saddest things I've seen. Well, it's, I don't know what's worse, the herd conformity, everyone thinking that they need to turn into vegans and wear earth tone cotton clothes and ayahuasca plug earrings and the whole thing, got to make sure you have more combo dots than the next guy and all that stuff. But the pressure on indigenous groups to, at first it was just like the Shipibo got really well known for ayahuasca, and then other tribes started adopting their protocol even though it wasn't their tradition. So those traditions are now gone, they're lost. And I have nothing against the Shipibo, they're amazing, they have the best knowledge of jungle plants. It's not at all a criticism, it's not their fault, but that was the first thing that started to happen, that and this also contributed to this perception that shamanism is a set protocol, that there are certain ikaros and there are certain processes, and the reality is that that never was like that. There are some things that are consistent, but there used to be different traditions. And then even worse than that, because at least the Shipibo were masters of this stuff. But then Karen and her other vegan accomplices, people with an agenda, a personal agenda, they will look you dead in the eyes and tell you about the importance of preserving tradition, all this stuff, and they're doing the opposite. Because I have watched shaman that were so authentic, like, real magic and things that transcend what ordinary people consider possible. I guess that's still magic. But I've watched them conform to the pop culture expectations because people come and they expect this stuff they've read online. And if it's not exactly, fitting that, they'll actually sometimes accuse them of being fake. And that to me is really the most horrendous part of this herd conformity thing that people do. because it really is wiping out the last few authentic traditional shaman in favor of some pop culture bullshit that white yuppies in San Bernardino or whatever came up with a few, 10 years ago, and have somehow managed to impose their ideas on the entire ayahuasca industry. It's really fucked up. In fact, one of my teachers that I never thought this would happen to, he at least had made it 10, 15 years after he started working with the public without any, influence. And over the last 2 years or so, finally, the new agey crap started creeping in, and the little bit more commercial and ceremonies getting bigger than we ever would have allowed back in the day. It really is wiping out the last little bit of integrity that ayahuasca had. Not the medicine, but this commercialized version of it really has become like Disneyland or a Disney ride for ayahuasca, as opposed to, sort of like a copy, shallow, vapid, empty copy of an imitation. So you must find your own voice. That is the main bulletin point of this presentation. Of course, we respect tradition and we carry the knowledge of our ancestors into the future without fear of improving it. It is not an insult. It's not a, it's not a sin. It's good. This is what any shaman would do, is to incorporate new tools as soon as they are found, and to improve any system by whatever means is available, but there is the retention of the knowledge of, where the original techniques came from and what they were for when we incorporate these things. The way that I do that actually is that I will tell people during ceremony, before or after, this is a traditional thing from the Shuar. This is something I learned from the Quechua or Quichua, depending on whether it was here or in Ecuador. But then I will use techniques from psychotherapy and studying psychology and knowledge of other occult traditions and plants from other traditions, because that is the great gift and the great circumstance of living in the modern era, where we have access to all this information and the ability to travel, and as any blessing is a curse and every cop is a criminal and all the sinners saints, it's a double-edged sword that we have the ability to create these syncretic systems that transcend anything that came before it. And the evidence of that is overwhelming for me. This is an effective route to go. The number of people that have come to me and said that no one else had managed to do anything for them at all, and their life is now transformed, is go look at our reviews on Facebook. If we'll have a website up again soon, by the way. It's just we're so busy. I think it's 90% done, and we're just trying to figure out how to get the payment gateway working, which is just not so far not happening. But yeah, we're working on that. In the meantime, we just have the Jungle Gnosis on Facebook. And we are booking for November still and May, by the way. So if anyone is interested in that, there's going to be mushroom hunting during the month of November, foraging. There are morels apparently everywhere, and I'm really excited about that because I love morels. And I make a dish that has morels, bacon, white wine reduction sauce with black pepper, white wine cream reduction sauce, Asiago cheese, which I need someone to bring me from the United States. Otherwise, I'm going to be super sad. Asiago cheese, Parmesan, angel hair noodles, usually oysters, not oysters. What are those other things? Scallops, sorry. Scallops, shrimp. I used to use wild asparagus in Colorado. It was amazing because the wild asparagus and the morels grow at the same time. I don't know why I know I don't have a camera, but I'm looking into the camera and watching my little screen here, and it just has nothing to do with anything. Anyways, yeah, so we're going to do that. And then also we will be looking for, you know, medicinal and other types of mushrooms. So 4 o'clock, it's been a short stream. I hope that I was able to inspire someone not to act like a monkey. If you've been acting like a monkey, then, I hope I helped. Spirituality, shamans as compared to I don't know what this means. Thank you for bringing this topic to light. Have you found a difference in the way people process or integrate their journeys and healing lessons when they have been guided by pop spirituality? So absolutely. Yep, definitely. I mean, the story I'm getting now, basically people come down here and they have drank in California or Texas or Florida or somewhere, and they're like, that wasn't even medicine compared to whatever this is. So, and I think it's not just pop culture shamanism, really. There is a lot of unrealistic expectations and romanticizing that goes on in regards to, I'm having to choose my words very carefully here, but in my case, for example, I tend to talk to people quite a lot before they come. And then afterwards, I don't think there's anyone that I don't talk to still, for even if years ago. So you hear about people not getting integration support, and people don't get proper preparation. And it sounds like increasingly people go, the shaman gives them the medicine, especially if they're indigenous. There's a language barrier maybe. So, the reality is it's not enough, in my opinion, to just drink medicine. And to, Icaros can be extremely powerful. I have experienced Shipibo, Shamana singing just absolutely like a soul bath, like an absolute soul bath. So, I'm not saying that stuff doesn't have benefit, but it really needs to be reinforced with other stuff, and the understanding of psychology and different philosophical systems, I think, and occult traditions, for a modern person, I think that holistic syncretic kind of engineering in the system is pretty much absolutely necessary. Oh, Gill Beats is back. Man, yeah, it has been a long time. Okay, so that's about a half hour, guys. I am sorry that we didn't have a image on screen. Um, I honestly do not understand what happened. Showing it in the OBS, but not on YouTube. So, at any rate, I'm going to do a secret stream for my patrons in a minute, and then after that, or maybe I'll do the voice chat in Discord. Either way, if you're a patron, in the next little bit, we're going to have either a secret stream and a voice chat, or one or the other. I'll decide in the next 20 minutes and post it in the Patreon. So thank you guys so much for spending this time with me, and I hope to meet a few of you soon.